Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Brother Asif Shirazi, for your magnanimous role he and his team at IR Pakistan have played in the past year that has led to this moment today. And it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here. The floods in Pakistan today, we see at the stark and the somber reality. And what we do is we gather to address the catastrophic floods that wreaked havoc upon this nation. The announcement that was made by the Pakistan government on August the 3rd last year stands as a grim reminder of the profound impact, as over 33 million lives were thrust into turmoil. This isn't just a chapter of unfortunate events. Rather, it stands as a testament to the chronic vulnerability we face in the midst of an escalating global crisis. Just last week, the resounding words of the United Nations Secretary General reverberated through the halls of the UN headquarters, heralding the dawn of a new era, an era of global climate upheaval. And it's important because the weight of these words cannot be understated. As temperatures soar, we brace ourselves for a cascade of repercussions. Not only are we seeing rising sea levels, we're bracing ourselves for eroding coastlines, also dwindling water resources, and the amplification of extreme weather events. And in the heart of this turmoil stands Pakistan, strategically positioned amidst the convergence of two volatile climatic systems. Its fragility is compounded by economic and infrastructural challenges. And that is the reality. The area roughly the size of Italy affected 33 million people last year. These are some of the NASA images, if you have a look, on August the 4th, and then the NASA images of August the 24th, showing the flood-affected areas. 33 million people were affected, 7.9 million were displaced, and 1,733 lives were lost. And I think this is the stark reminder. In the unforgiving aftermath of these changes, the most vulnerable amongst us, impoverished communities and marginalized groups, including women and children, bore the brunt of the disaster. So the key findings of the research from Islamic Relief lays bare a very stark truth. Our local communities are grappling with the tangible day-to-day effects of climate change on their very survival. Families once deeply rooted in agriculture now find themselves uprooted, migrating to urban centers, where access to clean water and basic services is a daily struggle. The elderly and those with disabilities confront compounding hardships, while expectant mothers and their children endure the consequences of inadequate nutrition and healthcare, leading to a distressing 80% of mothers reporting illness in their children following the floods. Despite this impact, however, only 22% of respondents among the local communities believe that they can contribute to reducing the impact of climate change. That means only 22% of people feel that they themselves can lead to something to help reduce climate change. And that's a stark reality, that most people feel that they can't change the impacts of climate change. But what does that mean? Actually, their disempowerment calls the rest of us to action. We need to unite as a community and address the challenges that do lie ahead. And the challenges that lie ahead, dear guests, are not just one that we think about climate change within the next year, but we are thinking about climate change and sustainable development within the next 10 years. When you're thinking of artificial intelligence, when you are thinking of data protection, when you are thinking about How do we support livelihoods for individuals within the next 10 years? What do we now need to do to ensure that recovery for those people actually enhances sustainable development within the next 10 years? So Islamic Relief mounted an unprecedented relief operation, and we thank IR Pakistan for that. And the tireless efforts of our emergency response, as Asif said, 1.6 million people with 686,011 women and girls receiving support, and 5,653 people with disabilities. And the reality of this is, Islamic Relief was listed as the 7th largest contributor to UN's appeal for this year, so far committing $8.3 million to mend the scars of loss and damage. We must invest in climate action that builds back better. We need to restore and improve basic services and infrastructure in a resilient and sustainable manner. We need to prioritize governance and implement disaster risk reduction strategies. Our path is clear: restoring and enhancing infrastructure, bolstering capacities to uplift the affected, and ensuring inclusivity and participation throughout the process of recovery and development. The imperative is unambiguous. We must invest in systems that empower local communities. We must invest in systems that talk to the climate finance. We must invest in systems that shield us from the blows of future climatic extremities. And I share with you today, guests, around what we say when we're talking about the challenges. I'm aware, and we are aware of the challenges. And the road ahead is marred by dual challenges. There is insufficient funding, we know that, and the shackles of debt is crippling. Navigating the realm of adaptation demands a substantial investment in public services. A hefty $16.3 billion is the cost of the flood recovery alone. This financial burden is further aggravated by Pakistan's debt crisis, which siphons away resources that could fuel the nation's renaissance. Regrettably, as of mid-July 2023, only 61% of the 344 million UN appeal for 2023 has been secured. A grim picture emerges. Funding for programs in nutrition and child protection languishes at just 20%, while over 90% of the required education funds remain uncommitted. And here lies the principle of climate justice. It beckons us from the reality of rhetoric to the realm of reality. While the establishment of the Loss and Damage Fund at COP27 is a promising stride towards rectifying historical wrongs, it remains an emaciated lifeline desperately in need of sustenance. Now more than ever, donor nations and international institutions must translate their promises into palpable action. This entails unwavering climate financing that aligns harmoniously with our Build Back Better aspirations, which propels community resilience, which propels adaptation. In instances where debt stands at an insurmountable barrier, such as Pakistan's predicament, providing relief through mechanisms like a pause clause or a debt cancellation or debt for adaptation swaps is not only sensible, but is ethically imperative. And the concept of loss and damage goes beyond physical destruction. It encompasses the profound emotional toil exalted by climate change. Pakistan has borne witness to lives lost, communities shattered, cultural heritage eroded. The pain of loss and damage is intensified by the realization that those least responsible for climate change bear the heaviest burden. As Pakistan calls for a redress and justice, international cooperation becomes pivotal. The establishment of a loss and damage fund is a right step a step in the right direction, but its unfunding underscores the emergency for meaningful contributions from nations with greater historical responsibility. And one of the things I would like to share with you is that Islamic Relief is investing in zero carbon and zero waste shelters. And these are structures that can be reused 100 times over. And this is something that we do want to share with you, that actually we are thinking about long-term sustainable solutions and not just the immediate within the next year. So when it comes to funding, we are talking about long-term funding, 5, 10, 15 years commitment, because without this, we will not see the Pakistan become the Pakistan that it should be. And for me, I think, and for the rest of us within the aid sector, I think it's a time for solidarity. A time that we come together in solidarity to build back Pakistan better, with funding that can build back better within a space, within a short space as well. I thank you all for listening to me today, and the reports are with you, and please do take a look. Thank you so much.